Welcome back everyone to episode 2 of History Behind Outlast. In this video, I will be covering Chris Walker, so let's get started. Chris Walker is the secondary antagonist in Outlast and a minor antagonist in Outlast Whistleblower. He is a reoccurring and very large variant that pursues Miles Upshur relentlessly, and who is considerably larger and stronger than any other inmate. A document states that Walker's predominant fixation is a manic exaggeration of military security protocol. He claims the flesh ripped from his forehead allows for a truer vision, much like Tatar and their third eye. The removal of his nose and lips was a result of self-mutilation due to extreme anxiety. He is responsible for the deaths of various people inside of the asylum, employees, and patients alike. In an attempt to contain the Walrider, which Fowler Martin is trying to set loose upon the world, a note reveals that before being admitted to Mount Massive Asylum, Walker was an ex-military police, as well as having toured Afghanistan several times. Prior to being incarcerated at Mount Massive, Walker's career started off as a military policeman in the United States Army. After his return from Afghanistan, he and other war veterans were committed to the Spinal Psychotherapy Clinic in Hatton, Texas, due to their recent developed post-traumatic stress disorder. They are treated with dream therapy guided by hypnosis to subconsciously release their trauma. Eventually, Walker became a Murkoff employee and worked as a surveillance officer at Spindle Top to survey the therapy sessions. Walker is seen to having a rather plain, childlike mind, conversing with simple expressions and incomplete sentences. Due to his stature and inhuman strength, he was nicknamed Strongfat by his colleagues, a name which he despised. Two Murkoff agents named Pauline Glick and Paul Moran investigated the murders of Chris Walker. Two Murkoff agents named Pauline Glick and Paul Moran investigated the murders without involving the police. Walker deceives and misleads them into their investigation, willingly cooperating and commenting positively about the victims. Eventually, they discovered that Walker was behind the killings when a fourth victim, Dr. Claymore, had been found in the therapy room. Realizing that this should have been recorded on the security monitors, they visited Walker's control room. However, the surveillance equipment was completely destroyed, and since the only two people had access to the surveillance room, including Claymore and Walker, they feared that Chris was the one responsible. They headed to Chris's residence, but he was not home. They found 4 cooler boxes, 3 of which contained the heads of Walker's previous victims. When they discovered that one of the boxes was empty, they realized that he was bound to arrive home soon, and so they waited for him. Meantime, they searched his house and found his childhood toy, a stuffed toy pig. Shortly afterward, Walker arrived home with the head of his last victim. The officers immediately drew their guns and ordered him to stand down. However, seeing the investigators holding a stuffed animal, he lashed out at them. He threw Pauline to the ground and grabbed Paul by the throat. Pauline shot him several times to the face, scarring him horribly. In response, Walker dropped Paul and instead attacked Pauline, throwing her through a window. Before Chris could kill her, Pauline grabbed his gun and shot Chris several times, only for Chris to knock the gun out of his hand and throw him to the ground. As he approached Paul, Pauline got into her car and drove at Chris, the impact throwing him against a rock and knocking him unconscious. Afterwards, Walker was apprehended by the 2 agents, as he was a Murkoff employee. The killings were blamed on another patient, Omar Abdul-Malik, who received a life sentence in prison. Walker, however, was not surrendered to the police, but was instead committed to the Mount Massive Asylum for experimentation. 2 months later, Pauline was called to the asylum where she met Jeremy Blair in the underground lab. Blair showed her Walker, who was not recognizable as a human anymore and had been turned into a monster. Chris is a very large and burly man who possesses superhuman strength and durability. He is able to easily pick up a fully grown man with one hand and tear off somebody's head from their body. During the asylum's riots, Walker even managed to take on 1 armed officers without sustaining any major injuries. He can bash down doors, barehanded, and break through reinforced glass. During his encounter with the Pauls, Chris displayed a high pain tolerance, withstanding multiple gunshots to his torso and jaw, as well as being hit by Pauline's car. Walker is also surprisingly athletic for his size, running almost as fast as Miles and being able to leap over large obstacles with ease. Although his psyche had been severely damaged, he holds a certain level of intelligence, being somewhat aware of Mount Massive's ongoing situation and Murkoff's legal experiments. Chris is able to track down Upshur through the entire asylum, scouring nearby rooms and checking potential hiding spots such as lockers and beds. He is well accustomed to the darkness, easily traversing Mount Massive's poorly lit areas, and often waits motionless while listening, out for approaching targets. He also seems to be capable of noticing his prey presence by picking up their scent. He keeps trophies of his victims, as well as many severed heads, are seen lined up in bookshelves in the administration block's lobby. Walker's appearance walks a line between overweight and extremely muscular, the former showing his bloated stretch mark, littered stomach, and latter showing Walker's massively powerful arms and legs. Prior to his commitment in the asylum, Walker had short hair and donned the standard Murkoff security uniform, light blue police shirt, black pants, matching shoes, and a duty belt, as well as a security patch on his sleeve and a watch on his right wrist. During a fight with the Murkoff agents, Chris was shot several times, with one bullet piercing his cheek, leaving him a number of scars. Walker is insanely obsessive with security protocol and will go on mass murderous treks just to do what he sees as the greater good. Most of his dialogue is reference to military service. His asphyxiation containment likely originates from the military background.
Patience. Cornerstone of enhanced interrogation. In terms of the man asking questions, not the subject. We will have truth.
And after comprehending the situation of the slaughter, he begins to kill everyone in sight in order to make sure there's no horse for the wall rider to possess. Despite being an extremely violent and lumbering brute, Walker's dialogue reveals that he is somewhat calm, level-headed, and truly wants to do good, stating that he must defeat the wall rider before it reaches the local town and telling Miles he only wants to help. Either way, his unstable mental status and habit of ripping off and collecting heads proves he is acutely insane.